Hi, Jazz.
How are you today?
At the other end of the room today.
That's
Can
cool.
you see the floor okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was in a walkway last time, so it just wasn't really working, and I figured there's a little bay window bit here where I can just about fit.
Oh, it looks really nice. It looks like a little studio almost.
I know. It's just tricky because our living room is open plan, so like it's right in the middle of the house. So to get to the kitchen, you have to go through this bit. So once a week or twice a week, I just have to shut beds upstairs because we haven't got room upstairs in any of the rooms because of the distance from the camera.
Yeah.
But, hey, I think it works quite well, and it's quite bright in here as well.
The joys of living in a cottage, eh?
Yeah, that's true. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been interesting with the new lockdown and everything. We were just discussing a few issues because he's still going to work, and there have been a couple of scares. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where does Scott work?
Arconic. So they do
oh yeah
work as well. So obviously, because they're manufacturing, it's quite difficult to do stuff socially distanced, especially when you've got 4 people having to lift like a heavy chassis or whatever together. So
yeah, tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really. Oh, I don't know. I think it's just going to be the way it is for a while, isn't it? Annoyingly, but kind of just rather get it out of the way with, really.
I'm surprised they waited this long. To be fair, I was actually thinking that they would lock it down a lot sooner than that.
Yeah, sad for businesses, isn't it? Is your accomplice there? Oh, cute.
He's back up to full health, so
oh, hooray! Scratching the post as well. Aren't they funny when they have their crazy 5 minutes?
That's a funny 5, yeah, at the moment.
Love it.
She loves my workout mat for some reason. I think it's because it's all rubbery.
Does she? Does she scratch it?
Into it? Yeah.
Yeah, same with my cat. Especially, like, she looks at me and then likes to scratch it as well.
Like, watch me.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I think I've just let Rachel in. Yeah. Rachel has no camera today.
No.
Oh, Rachel has turned into a small grey icon.
Hello.
Hi.
You're right. Sorry about that. Every time you send the link on Facebook, I think I remember my Facebook password, and then when I get on my laptop, I'm like, I don't.
Oh no. Sorry, I couldn't remember emails, and I tried to send. Well, it's in my own email, but I've got the Be Happy Yoga one, and neither of your emails were in that address bar, so I was like, oh god, I'll just send it on Messenger, it's easier.
I did wonder because you sent me a message,
I'm ready to go,
and then there was nothing for ages, and I thought, is she still writing something?
Yeah, no, I need to get my life organized and sort it out properly. I was just trying to get it all properly done through the website, but hey ho, it didn't quite go according to plan. Next week it will. Right, so you both can see me okay here?
Hey, yeah, where are you?
The other end of the room.
It's a whole new studio.
Yeah, it isn't. I'm just in the bay window by the radiator. The Christmas tree was there before, so. Right, I'm just going to put you guys on mute. How do I do that again? I'm so good at this. Technical. Can you guys mute yourselves by any chance? Okay, cool. Thank you. Might need to take my jumper off partway through, but for now, I'll just leave it on. So today's class is focusing on trying to bring softness into the way we approach things. So sometimes in life, if we're faced with a challenge, we tend to tense up and feel stressed about it. But sometimes when you kind of release and let go, it can be a better way to approach the situation. So physically that applies sometimes. If you're stressed and tense, things are harder work, but as soon as you relax into it, then you maybe find more space and more comfort and things, but also emotionally, just trying to find that point where you can let go and kind of see what happens. So we'll try and put it into practice today, and hopefully by the end of it you guys will feel nice and chilled. We've got a bit of heat but not too much today, so it would be nice just to come back after Christmas and work up to something more tricky next week. So we're going to start in standing today, so just quite a relaxed sort of stance. The feet are hip width apart. Just gently close the eyes and take a moment to just feel grounded. So don't worry too much about what the arms are doing, just stand in a kind of comfortable position. Just take some full breaths in through the nose and then out through the mouth. Just take a quick scan of the body and feel if there are any places where you're holding tension. Just become conscious of the connection of the feet into the mat. So really think about the balls of the feet and the toes and how they're sort of pressing into the mat. And with the eyes closed, see if you kind of notice any movement or if you feel quite stable. Sometimes balance is kind of a reflection of how we feel emotionally. So sometimes if we're really balanced, we're kind of feeling confident and good, but other times if we're imbalanced emotionally, you can kind of feel it physically. And with the eyes closed, you can just take a moment to check in and see how you feel. On the next in-breath, raise the arms up and look up to the space between the hands. Just take a really nice full body stretch. And even in this position, as much as you're stretching up, try not to create too much tension in the body. So whilst you're stretching, still focus on that idea of letting go. And if you feel any tension in the shoulders, just consciously let them drop a little bit. So there's still space around the head and neck. On the exhale, just bring the arms down to the sides and give the arms a shake out. Oh, hi, Finn. Just going to leave you guys to do some wrist rolls and shoulder rolls a second, let Finn out. So just stay in standing position and start to roll the wrists. Just small circles to start with, and then increase the size of the circles. I'll just let him out a bit. He hasn't gone out, he's just stood there. And then roll the wrist back the other way. So it's good to make sure in yoga that we try and work things equally. So if we do something on one side, try and do it on the other, just to try and balance the body. We'll take some shoulder rolls as well. And just try and let it be a fluid sort of motion. Up to you whether you take small circles or big circles, whatever feels nice in your shoulders and neck. Remember to breathe. And then just bring the arms to rest at your sides. On the next inhale, raise the arms up. Have some sort of looseness in the knees and then twist round to your right. So your left hand is just resting on the right hip. Consciously roll that right shoulder back and look out towards the right hand side. And when you're here, take an in-breath through the nose. Really suck in as much air as you can and then exhale and squeeze the air out, and see if that allows you to find any more space in your twist. Maybe you can look over that right shoulder. Still keep that connection with the toes and the balls of the feet and into the mat. And then just come back to center and give the arms a shake out. Actually, give the whole body a shake out. So just swing the arms. It's a really nice sensation sometimes in the spine, just to loosen up the mid back, especially if you've been working at your computer. Come back to center, and then we're going to do it on the other side. So breathe in, reach up, exhale, and then twist around to the left. So gently placing that right hand on the left hip. The left hand can just kind of hang behind you, or you can bring it round to the right hip if that's comfortable. Taking full breaths. Take that extra big breath. Exhale and really squeeze that air out and see if you can find any more depth in that twist. When you're ready, just come back to center. Just give the arms and shoulders a shrug out again. Going to take some side stretches now. So a few weeks ago, we did some stretches where we got on the balls of our feet. So you can keep your feet flat, or if you want to try coming up onto the balls of your feet, then you can. So breathe in, raise the arms up. With the hands apart, find that focal point, so the drishti point, where you can just kind of keep a soft gaze to help you balance and focus, and it helps with stability. Then bring the hands into a clenched position and turn the palms up to face the ceiling. Push those palms up towards the ceiling and gently tilt over to the right, just letting gravity kind of do its work. If you fall back down to the mat, that's fine. We want to keep the body still nice and loose. Still breathing in this position. I mean, if you weren't breathing, that wouldn't be very good, but breathing in a relaxed and comfortable way. Come back up to the center, reach the palms up to the ceiling, and then come back to the floor and shake the arms out. Back onto the balls of the feet, reach the arms up, interlace the fingers, pushing the palms up to the ceiling, and then reach over to the left. So in this position, kind of visualize that central line between the feet up through the belly button, and then this pose is actually palm tree pose, so it kind of perfectly describes that the body is relatively straight until you get to the upper part, and then gravity is just doing its job to help pull you down and stretch the torso. Come back to the center and then give everything a shake out. From here, we are going to do some forward folds and a little back bend as well. If anyone has got slightly tricky back, we just won't push it. So place the hands on the lower back, so where you can feel those joints sticking out. Just gently roll the shoulders back. Keep the chin in a neutral position and work the elbows back towards each other so the chest is nice and open here and you're not hunched. But at the same time, don't put so much pressure on that you're really forcing the arms together. Take a breath in, and then on the exhale, take a little lean back, almost lean into your hands. Keep that connection with the toes and the balls of the feet and the mat. Try and keep a looseness in the chin and the neck still. Taking full breath still here as well. Maybe you want to sink a little deeper. Only if you feel any discomfort, just try a little tiny back bend and just kind of be comfortable at that position and try not to push it. Sometimes the lower back can be a little bit temperamental, especially if you've been seated for most of the day. On the in-breath, come back to standing. We're going to do some forward folding now, just quite a nice passive forward fold. So just to really let the muscles kind of relax properly, and the muscles in the neck as well, just to let the head hang and get a bit of blood rushing to the head so the muscles warm up. So take an in-breath, reach up, slight bend in the knees, and then just swing forward. So feet are hip width apart here, I should have said that, sorry. And take hold of the elbows. With the elbows clasped in this position, gravity has no choice but to do its job. So naturally, you just kind of get pulled down and the muscles will loosen and create a little more space. And even in this position, as you breathe and soften and actively press those toes and balls of the feet into the mat, you might notice that the body starts to make its own way down to the floor. If there are parts of the body that feel tense, try and concentrate on those parts and kind of send the breath to those areas that need a little TLC, and maybe the areas that feel tense, just consciously try and relax them. Take another in-breath, and on the exhale, pull the belly in and see if you can create any more space. If you want as well, sometimes it's nice to have a bend in the knees, just to feel that sensation of the belly or the ribs on the thighs. It's kind of a cozy feeling. And from here, engage the core, plant those feet firmly, and then just slowly roll up. So let the arms hang. The opposite here, actively engage everything and pull yourself up to a standing position. I am going to take my jumper off here because the fire is on and it is getting quite hot. So we're going to take some of our sun salutations that we've practiced before, and it's going to get even warmer now. So got the 3 choices as always to come into baby cobra. So just a little raise off the floor, maybe that's a nice place to start, or you can come into full cobra if you've got, like if your back is kind of mobilized, or you can come through to upward dog as well. So I'm going to start in baby cobra. So breathe in, reach up. Exhale and just fold forward. This time, bring the hands to the back of the calves, actually. Take a moment here. Then place the palms onto the shins. Zip those elbows in and really point that chest forward. Imagine the old flashlight in the chest, like you're trying to shine it in front of you. Then place the hands down onto the mat and come down into our plank position. So as always, we want to set up the foundation in plank and consciously scan, take a visual scan of your body. Start at the big toes, the balls of the feet, the heels are pressing back. The straight line from the big toe up the foot, all the way up the front of the legs, up to the armpits, the eyes of the elbows, or the creases, I don't know what the technical term is, are pointing forwards, and the hands are taking weight evenly. From here, come down onto the knees, zip the elbows in, and then come down to the floor with the palms just under the elbows. Press the tops of the feet and the big toes into the mat. And imagine your hands are sort of suction cups here, and as you pull or press down on the mat, see if you can create that bit of height naturally. So without putting too much pressure on the back, you might notice that as you press down into the hands, naturally opens up the chest and kind of brings the shoulders back. From here, take an in-breath, push up into your downward dog. As it's the first one of the day, perhaps it might not be, but for me it is. I'm going to keep some movement in it. Sometimes downward dog is one of those positions you can just kind of wedge yourself into it. It can be quite uncomfortable, but if you do have a little bit of movement, maybe take a look under the arms as well, just so the spine is mobile. Helps to keep it loose and it's a little bit more enjoyable. When you're ready, take a little walk up to the end of the mat, so the feet are hip width apart again, and then make your way up to standing, reach up your imaginary ladder, exhale, and bring the hands back down to the sides. So, as I mentioned, option of baby cobra, normal cobra, or up dog, whichever one feels good. My back's still a little bit twitchy, so I might just go for medium-sized cobra and see how it feels. So take an in-breath, reach up. On exhale, just let everything go, fold forward. Take an in-breath, hands to shins. Exhale, step back into your plank position. Press those heels back. Keep the core engaged so the body's not sagging here. It's nice and active. And then option to go down by your knees or straight down through Chaturanga and come into your baby cobra or medium cobra. Just take a moment here, relax the face, make sure you're still breathing comfortably and deeply. Tuck the toes back under, engage the core and push back up to your downward dog. So this time, take the hands a little wider apart in your downward dog and maybe bring the feet in a little bit closer as well and see if you can just gently raise and drop the heels to help stretch the hamstrings and the calf muscles. And then you can make your way to the front of the mat, either a nice little dainty footstep walk, or if you want to try, plant the hands down on fingertips and then just jump through to the top of the mat. Breathe in and come back up to standing. Conscious there's a wall very close to my head, so don't want to headbutt the wall. We're going to do it one more time. Hopefully everyone is getting suitably warmed up and the muscles are starting to relax. Take an in-breath, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Come into a half forward fold. Hands down, step back into plank. Either knees or straight through Chaturanga. This time, I'm going to come up into up dog. So again, when you press down into the hands, it creates that openness in the chest. Release the glutes and don't compromise the lower back here. Tuck the toes under, engage the core, and push back up into your downward dog. Now we're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. Maybe close the eyes in downward dog as well. Sometimes with the eyes closed, it helps you to kind of focus on which parts of the body are still tense, or maybe parts of the body that are cold and need to be warmed up, or maybe parts of the body that are really boiling, like my face at the moment. Notice that feeling as you press into the hands. By default, the sits bones kind of raise their height. So the more you press into the hands, the sits bones get higher. And in turn, that creates more space around the neck. When you're ready, make your way to the top of the mat. But this time, yes, we are actually, and then make your way back up to standing. Bring the arms back down to the side. So we're facing the other way now, but let's go through that same process as we did at the beginning. Just feet are hip width apart. Standing just casually, but keep the eyes closed now, and notice as your orientation on the mat has changed, do you sort of feel any differences? Maybe the light has changed, maybe the temperature's different. Just take a moment to take some deep breaths. When you're ready, just open the eyes. So we're going to come back in to our crescent lunge now. And we'll set up the foundation first. So before we lift the arms, I want to feel that sort of grounding sensation through the feet and the hips to be set up. So I'm going to step back with the right foot first. The right foot is still on the ball of the foot and the big toe. Hips are pointing forward here. Imagine like Transformer style. That's what I always picture actually in this pose. Really robot-like. So hips are forward. This knee, we don't want it to be sort of sinking in. Maintain that nice line. Don't want it to go over the toes either. Don't want to compromise the knee. Think about the back heel really working its way out and lifting up. So it helps to stabilize this leg. And also maybe you'll feel a bit of a stretch down the front of the leg. So in the right hip flexor, you might want to shimmy that back foot out a little bit if that feels good. And if you feel a little imbalance, maybe shimmy the left foot out a little bit. When you feel comfortable to, raise the arms up. Again, don't create tension in those shoulders, just let them kind of relax into their natural position. Even in this position, you can find that drishti point. So either gazing directly in front of you or maybe slightly up towards the sky. What would be the sky? Possibly the wall. Bring the arms back down, and then we're going to turn the back foot in and come into our warrior 2 position. So the back foot is at about 45 degrees now, and there's that line between the left heel and the arch of the right foot. Again, we want to make sure this front leg is not sinking in. It's got that nice straight line, but also we actually want to be facing our body facing towards the side in this pose. So we want to make sure that this back leg is not sagging in either. So actively open up that right hip, and you might notice when you do that, this one has a tendency to come in. So just gently work that left knee back out. And when you feel stable in that position, make sure the body is still kind of reaching up. So we have a tendency to lean in this pose, but while the hips are working away from each other, the body should be working upwards. And when you get to that point, then it's time to lift the arms and just gaze over that left hand. So just check that line from the left hand over the left shoulder, across the collarbones, and all the way down to the right fingertips. Then we're going to straighten that front leg. Keep the back leg in the same position. And imagine you're grabbing something in front of you. So trying to reach out for something. So the body comes forward and then make your way down into triangle. You can keep the hands on the hip here. Or if you want to come into the full expression, consciously turn that left arm in so the shoulder's not hunching inwards. The chest is nice and open. And then imagine pulling a string up from the ground and open up that chest. You can look up towards the hand if that's comfortable. Otherwise, sometimes it's nice for a more passive version of this pose just to gaze down towards the mat. Think about that softening again. So even in this pose, when you take your next breath in, on the exhale, see if as you breathe out, maybe the hand can slide a little further down the leg. Again, letting gravity do its work. You can use a block under the left hand as well if that's more comfortable. Come back up to standing. And then we're going to rotate the left foot in so it's in line with the short edge of the mat. Oh no, actually 45 degrees the other way. Then we'll point the right foot to the other end of the mat. We'll come back into our triangle on this side. So again, go through that motion of, we'll have the arms out and reaching in front of you. So imagining you're trying to grab something before you make your way down to the mat with the other hand. And you can keep your hand on the hip here, or if you want to pull up the imaginary string, open up the arms, and then find a point that's comfortable for you just to gaze and keep any tension out of the neck. You might notice some sensations in the hips here. When you're ready, come back up, and we're going to come back into our warrior two. So the front knee is bent here again. Think about those hips facing sideways. When you're ready, bring the arms up. Imagine you'll do the opposite of opening curtains. So it's quite a nice kind of smooth motion rather than wrenching the arms out. Just gently open the arms, open the chest, and gaze over the right hand. Maybe you can shimmy that foot and sink a little deeper if that feels good. You might notice more looseness in one side than the other. And then just straighten that front leg and shimmy the feet back together. Going to come back into Tadasana. So our mountain pose at the top of the mat. From here, take a breath in, reach the arms up. Another nice stretch. Imagine yourself climbing that pretend ladder just to see if you can find any more stretch in the muscles, any more height in the torso. Exhale and fold forward. Step back into a downward dog. Come forward into your plank. Knees onto the mat, and then just come to lie on your mat. For a moment, we're just going to enjoy the heat that's probably starting to build now. So have the tops of the feet, big toes pressed into the mat. The right hand on top of the left, and just take a moment to rest the head on the hands. Maybe close the eyes, just twist to have the head facing towards the right. Even in this position, as you breathe with your belly on the mat, it's actually a really good massage for the internal organs and digestive system. Change sides, so if your eyes are open, you're looking to the left. Otherwise, you're just imagining you're looking to the left. Take a moment to scan the body and see if there are any areas still where you might be holding tension. Often key areas for us holding tension are lower back, so the area around the sacroiliac joints, these two bony bits that stick out, and also the neck and around the shoulders, especially in our sort of office orientated work. Actually, while we're here, if you just place your face down on the mat, so just comfortably, and bring your thumbs to the sacroiliac joint, so just gently give those a nice massage and see if you can maybe loosen those bits up a little bit. Not only sitting at a desk actually, but other sort of forms of exercise, even lots of walking really can really create tightness around these joints, and then that can cause hip pain and various other issues. So if you do ever get the opportunity to just take a moment to give it a good old poke around with your thumbs, I would recommend it. Especially important because we're going to do a couple of back bends now. So we're going to place the hands under the shoulders and we're going to come up into Sphinx pose. So in your best Sphinx pose, like the traditional Sphinx statue, really plaster the forearms down so the elbows are stacked under the shoulders. Imagine that you've got tape under your arms and on the palms of your hands and on your fingertips, really pressing you into the mat. We don't want the feet to be splayed out. We want to maintain that nice line all the way from the hip points down to the big toes. So try and feel the middle of the tops of your thighs pressing into the mat, the knees pressing into the mat, big toenail pressing into the mat. And in the same way as we did in Cobra, when you apply some pressure to the hands and the forearms, naturally our chest opens and we kind of pull forwards a little bit. If you're holding any tension in the lower back here, just make sure you're breathing fully. Consciously disengage the glutes as well. See if you can create any more height as you press down, but without compromising the spine. And then come back to lie on the mat. This time, I'm going to place the chin on the mat. Stretch your palms out behind you so they're pressed down onto the mat. Big toes pressed into your yoga mat. And from here, we're going to come into Locust Pose. So I think we did this a few weeks ago. The feet are hip width apart. Let's break it down actually, bit by bit. So we'll start with the front of the body. So as you roll the shoulders back, point the fingers back towards the toes, almost without trying, the body lifts itself up. So the top of the back is doing kind of most of the work here. Try and maintain a nice streamlined position. Try and avoid keeping tension in the face. Just find that point to gaze in front of you. Again, feel the belly pressing into the mat as you breathe. And when you're ready, come to lie back down. Just gently rest the chin. Rock the hips actually from side to side as well. Going to do that again. So breathe in, lift up. This time we're going to bring the feet up as well. So concentrate on pointing the feet back, and naturally, as you point your toes, your legs tend to lift. You might notice some heat building. So the fingertips and the toes are really pointing in the same direction. When you're ready, come back. In fact, we won't put our chin on the mat, just gently rest the head on the tops of the hands again. Bring the chin back to the mat. Take an in-breath. Raise the feet, raise the hands. If you need a blanket under the hips, actually, or the pelvis, please do put one there, because sometimes it can be a bit uncomfortable. Point those toes. Maybe give the feet a little roll around, actually, while you're here. So just roll the ankles. And then come back to lie on the mat. Now we're going to bend the knees, so just gently kick the feet towards your bum. So just quite loosely, just to loosen up those muscles. Keep the hands in that same position so they're pressed palm down into the mat. Maybe readjust the legs so the tops of the thighs really are the part that are pressing into your yoga mat. We're going to come into bow pose. So maybe for today, it might be enough for you just to take hold of the feet and keep the chin on the floor, just consciously working the elbows back towards each other. Or maybe you want to give the full expression of the pose a try. If you are on a hard floor, actually, this is probably another good point to get a blanket to place under the hips or under the mat if you need to. So take hold of those feet, take an in-breath, and on the exhale, push the tops of the feet back into the palms of the hand. As you do that, naturally your body tends to lift up. Again, we don't want to compromise the lower back, and just keep that relaxed sort of face just gazing in front of you. And as you breathe, you'll probably notice some movement. And gently come back down, releasing the legs. Just give the legs a little bit of a kick out. Maybe massage those joints again. Maybe you notice some sensations or different sensations around these joints after doing those two back bends. If you feel any discomfort, make sure you don't come up into the full variation of the pose and just take hold of the feet, or just even the kicking would be enough. But if you want to give another try, reach back for the feet, thighs are, tops of the thighs pressed into the mat. Press the feet back into the palms of the hands. Find that drishti point. Even in this position, see if, as much as you're pressing with the feet, is there anywhere else in the body that you can soften and maybe enjoy the sensation rather than kind of feel forced into that position. And then just come back down to rest the head back on the tops of the hands. In fact, let's press back into child's pose. So it's quite nice to do this to counteract those back bends. So we will take a wide leg child's pose. So the knees are just a little less than the width of the mat. If you can, press or just sit back onto the heels. If you need a jumper under the sits bones, then that's fine, and it makes it kind of a little more relaxing really. But otherwise, think about in child's pose kind of peeling the body down, so you're kind of thinking about touching the ribs on the tops of the thighs, and you might notice as you do that that your bum lifts up. Just gently place the rest of the forehead on the mat, and even in this position, if you press down in the into your hands, if they're in front of you, you can kind of push back so the sits bone maybe make that connection with the soles of the feet or with the heels. And we're going to press back up onto all fours and just do some cat-cows, because we've done loads of back bending. It's just nice to make sure the spine is feeling comfortable. So just take 10 of these at a speed that feels nice and kind of an intensity. If you want to do really big bends, cat-cow, then that's great. Otherwise, if you want to take smaller versions, maybe introduce some other movement. Our bodies are often pretty good at telling us kind of what they need, where they need to be stretched and mobilized. So just try and listen to those signals. When you're ready, just make your way down into a seated position. If you are, well, actually, maybe we should just do this anyway. If you've got, oh, I've got my scarf here. So if you've got something to hand, you can just put under your sits bones. So say you've got a little bit of support. We're going to do a seated forward fold, and it's kind of nice to have that support for the hips because it helps to tilt the pelvis. So roll up whatever you've got behind you. Actively remove the flesh from the bum cheeks. So that action of removing the flesh and just sitting right on the edge of your blanket or scarf really helps to tilt the pelvis forward and open up the chest. So rather than sitting like this, you might notice that it's a bit easier to sit upright with the shoulders back, not rigidly so, but just in a kind of nice, comfortable seated position. Just get grounded in this position a sec. So with the hands placed on the thighs. When you're ready, take an in-breath, reach up, look to that space between the hands, and then in the same way we did in child's pose, think about hinging at those hips and peeling yourself down rather than rounding, keeping open to a point that feels good. Maybe you'll feel some sensations in the back of the legs or the hips here. And if you want to take a passive version of the pose, you can just hang the head down. That's actually quite nice. Bring the hands back, come back to a seated position, and then we're going to swap the legs to the awkward side. Everyone has an awkward side, but it's good to use the awkward side as well. Mine is really awkward. It just feels very strange when my feet are this way around. So just set up that seated position again. Maybe you notice on the other side, the awkward side, your knees are much higher, and if they are, you can, if you're comfortable just to have them kind of hanging here, then that's cool, but otherwise you can prop them up with cushions or blocks if that's more comfortable. Breathe in and reach up. Again, look through those hands, and then hinge at the hips and make your way forward. Either chest open, or if you want to come into a more cozy version, maybe a bit of introspection, just let the head hang here. Still taking these nice big breaths and consciously switching off those parts of the body that are still holding tension. And we're going to make our way down to lie on the mat. So we'll come into Shavasana in a second. So if you've got your blanket nearby, then probably just keep it beside the mat. We're going to roll down to lying. If your back is a bit uncomfortable after the back bends, just come down onto your forearms and then into a lying position. Otherwise, we're going to roll down so the feet are hip width apart here. Place the palms on the shins, and as you press into the palms, that helps to elevate the torso, so it brings the chest forward. You might feel a bit of a stretch in the mid to upper back here. It's quite a nice sensation, and just good to get the spine set up before we roll back. So take an in-breath, and now reach the palms or fingers out in front of you, the arms straight, palms facing down. Press those toes and balls of the feet into the mat. Engage the core, roll over the sits bones, and gently make your way down to the mat. So imagine you're trying to get every vertebrae to touch the mat as you go down. Shoulders connect, and then elbows connect. So keep the knees bent to start with, the feet still hip width apart. Going to shimmy the hips to the left a couple of inches and let gravity do its job wonderfully. Just let your knees drop to the right. You can have the hands face down at your sides, or maybe you can put them on the belly. If you want to increase the twist, then look over the left shoulder as well. Engage the core, bring the knees back to center. Shimmy the hips to the right this time. And then drop the knees to the left. Sometimes the right shoulder or opposite shoulder wants to lift up in this position. So just try and keep it anchored into the mat. Knees back to center. Just readjust the lower back and bring your knees into your chest. Maybe roll the knees around just to massage that lower back a little bit more. We're going to come into happy baby pose, which is a pretty hilarious name, but actually it's a nice relaxing pose where your hips just kind of get to be loosened a bit, and you'll definitely notice this one afterwards. So take hold of the sides of your feet here. The elbows are inside the knees. Just kind of let the tailbone come up as you pull down just gently on the soles of the feet with your fingers. The hips open. We still want to maintain that connection with the shoulder blades to the mat. Again, we want to maintain that kind of softness throughout the body, really. So as much as we are pulling down the feet, we don't want to be wrenching down the feet and creating tension anywhere else. Let go of the feet, bring the knees back into the chest. Roll the knees, and then feet back to the floor. We're going to come into Shavasana, and as we've been doing a few back bends as well, sometimes it's nice to have a little support under the bottom of the back when you come into this lying down position. And again, maybe you might feel more comfortable keeping the knees up and together, but if it feels good, then you can equally have the legs straight out with the feet just comfortably positioned. Have the hands down at your sides, either palms facing up, or maybe you might want to have a hand, left hand on the heart, right hand on the belly, and just gently close the eyes. Think about how you can take that idea of softness and letting go into everyday. So if you're kind of faced with difficult situations, maybe instead of fighting ahead, just see what outcome a different approach has. maybe you start to notice changes in the temperature. Maybe after creating all that warmth, the body has cooled down a bit. Maybe you can feel the air on the skin. Start to deepen the breath. Keep the eyes closed still and roll on to a side that is most comfortable. When you're ready, push back up to a seated position. Namaste. Guys, if you can put your speakers back on, that would be wonderful because I don't know how to do it. Oh, there we go. I can hear Jazz.
Very relaxed right now.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I realized like how busy it's been today and how tired it's actually made me. So I kept thinking, oh shit, I'll keep yawning. I felt really bad, but only because I was so relaxed.
I was too. And I felt like most of the time you could just see my head being like, bah.
That's a good thing. Like the first week back is always a bit mental, isn't it? Readjusting to workload, like especially because we've all been forced to do nothing. All of a sudden it's like, oh, stuff to do, too much to do.
Ugh.
So yeah, cool. What are you doing for the rest of the week then, guys?
Oh, just work really.
Yeah.
Really much we can do is with lockdown, being back in
No.
the place, maybe go for a walk.
I know.
That's probably it.
All of the walks. I've got my granddad's funeral on Friday, so I've got that to do.
Sorry, Rachel.
God.
It's alright. It's just family's just being like a pain. Like,
Oh really?
just with everyone with their different ideas of what we can do that's allowed and what we definitely can't do, and it's just be glad when it's done.
Yeah, it's always a time, isn't it, when everyone's got a bloody opinion on stuff, and sometimes you just think, whose sake is that for ultimately?
Yeah, shouldn't you be concentrating on what he would have wanted, I guess, or what he would have enjoyed?
Yeah,
exactly. But well, it'd be nice to travel up the M5. I have missed it.
Oh, I bet you have. I bet it's missed you, Rachel.
I know. Be like, what are you doing? But what about you?
Decorating, really, like regrouting the kitchen. So that is my main job at the moment. And walking. But even at Alfred's Tower, like it's so busy. I just can't even believe how many people are there, like parking on the roads, and bizarre. It's literally like people have poured out of, I think, London, because you tend to recognise the same people walking there normally, but it's just absolutely mental. But aside from that, yeah, walking, decorating, that is all.
It's busy at Ham Hill. It's tricky to know because like the government have kind of said like you can travel to exercise, and it's like, yeah, travel how far? I feel like they need people like a 10-mile radius or something.
But they also said to stay in your local town. But what if you literally live in the middle of nowhere? You know.
Yeah.
Very flaky at the moment.
At the same time, I keep thinking, can I get away with paddleboarding or surfing?
I know.
I know. I wouldn't want to anyway. Like North Devon particularly, I know that hospital is a nightmare anyway. So I just want to be that extra person that puts the risk on other people. Like it just isn't fair. And I see loads of people going surfing and I just think, what are you doing?
That's like all the Londoners that went up to the Brecon Beacons and to Penny
That was
Farm.
awful, wasn't it?
It's ridiculous.
Not good.
No. Okay, well, I hope everything goes all right, Rachel, and hopefully see you guys next week on Zoom.
Yeah, definitely good to do weekly. I'm trying to get new recruits, but people are flaky.
Oh, that's all right. You guys are the own team anyway.
Yeah. But nice to see you both. Have good rest of weekends and enjoy all the walks.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys.